I have a story to share. One second, I need. Sorry about that. I don't know if y'all could hear the AC on, but it was pretty loud. But anyways, I have a story to share. It's a Christian story. You probably have heard this before if you've been to church or new Christians or religious people. But mainly, this is more what you'll hear from Christians. Basically, it's this. There was one time a major storm coming through a town. Rivers were overflowing and everything. This preacher staying by his church praying to God to save him. And of course the water gets up to, not completely to his ankle, but it's getting close. Some guys in a large truck come by and say, hey sir, we need to take you to safety. He's like, no, God's going to save me. God will save me. So he's still praying and praying and praying. The water's getting up, so he has to get on top of the stairs on his church. And the water's coming up to his knees still, even though he's probably about 10-15 feet above ground now. But they're getting up to his feet. Some guys in a boat come by and they say, preacher, we need to take you to safety. This is getting pretty serious. He's like, no, I'll be fine. God's going to save me. He then, of course, is praying for God to save him. He keeps begging God to save him because he has so much faith that God's going to save him. And of course, eventually he has to get on the roof of his church because the water's now to the roof of the church. Some men in a helicopter come by. They say, hey, preacher, we really need to take you to safety. This is getting pretty bad. This is going to be your last chance. We have to get you to safety. He's like, no. God is going to save me. God will save me. I trust in him. He's going to save me. And of course, they fly away. And of course, the water gets above his head and he drowns. When he meets God in heaven, he asks God, why did you not save me? I prayed and begged you to save me. And God tells him, like, I tried to save you. I sent some guys in a truck, you turned them down. I sent some guys in a boat, you turned them down. I sent some guys in a helicopter, you turned them down. And if you're a Christian, people tell you that story because they're telling you about God helps you through other people. You go to a doctor, you pray to guide the surgeon's hands, as if all that education they have doesn't mean anything. They can't save you without God's help. And of course, there are a lot of people who thought they were going to have God's help, but they're 6 feet on the ground. But really, if you think about it from an atheist point of view, that just shows why would you need to pray when what would happen anyways is going to happen. Think about it though. You have friends and family or whoever, they're theists, Christians, Muslims, whatever. They firmly believe their gods, other gods are going to help them and save them. If they get sick or something and they don't want to go to a doctor and they're like, well, God's going to heal me. I have faith. I trust in Jesus. I know in my heart he's going to save me. And then, of course, we all know graveyards are full of people who thought that God was going to save them. And some people, they're going to get healed, they'll be okay. And they'll attribute it to God, not medication, not their body's natural healing factors, but to some mythical being. People need to realize that, prayer does not work. I've tried it when I used to be a Christian. It does not work. What's going to happen would have happened anyways. It's like karma, People believe in karma. It's like, well, that person's doing all these bad things. They're going to get what they deserve. And all of a sudden, they're driving by and they get a major accident. Their car's completely totaled. And, they may not get killed or paralyzed or anything. But, they broken bones and stuff like, well, see, he was an a-hole. He deserved that. He got what he deserved. Karma caught up to him. But the thing is, though, he could have been the sweetest, nicest person, helping the homeless, helping the poor, helping children, and still would have had that accident. There are people that are kind and sweet that have horrible lives, while there are people that are horrible have good lives. There's no such thing as karma. Okay? That karma thing, forget about it. Prayer, forget about it. I've done videos on prayer already. And the Idiot Atheist Reads Christian Literature. Check it out. Also, I've written ebooks. You can check the description for the link, because the thing that theists will tell you a lot of times also is, well, you just don't know the Bible. You never read the Quran. You never read the Bible. Or you take it out of context. You don't know. You haven't read. You don't have the knowledge. I've heard atheists speak, and they don't really know what they're talking about. There's no point in debating them. You know who else says that? SJWs and Antifa people. There is a particular person on YouTube, for example. I've heard them say that, well, he doesn't debate people, anti-feminists and stuff. But I watched their videos. They don't know what they're talking about. I know, but they don't. They haven't read and learned. Same thing Christians will say. You haven't read the Bible. You haven't learned the Bible. You haven't been to church and had it preached to you. So you don't know what you're talking about. It's the same type, And this particular guy, his wife basically controls him, and his wife didn't even take his last name. I'm sure I'm giving away who he is. I won't say who he is. But, basically his wife's a lot of times in the video making sure he says the right things. It's hilarious. But anyways, both of them work on that same factor. And I mentioned it more in depth in my ebook. Basically the name of the ebook is 20 Similarities Between Social Justice Warriors, Antifa, and Theists. But that's basically the thing they will always tell you is you don't know. And of course, here's the thing. And you'll probably hear this from others. For example, I'll just take Christianity as for example. There is many different varieties of Christianity as there are Christians, because each Christian may interpret a particular passage in the Bible differently. You go to a church, the preacher will tell them how to interpret the Bible. And it's the same thing with social justice warriors. They read their books, and each of them will interpret what they think feminism is. Some people, it's equality for everybody. It's the lovey-dovey stuff, just like with some Christians, God's all lovey-dovey, and there are other feminists, it's anti-men, they hate men, and everything. But some Christians, everybody should burn in hell, everybody's going to burn in hell, you're all going to burn in hell unless you accept my religion, it's that type of stuff. That's why they will tell you, well, you don't know what you're talking about, because that's not my God. And of course, Matt Dillahunty and folks like them, they spoke on that when it comes to religion, not SJWs. And this video is not about SJWs, it's about that Christian story I just told you. That preacher had such faith in his God. And it's just a story, obviously. But how many Christians does that happen to? Or Muslims or anybody. But we're mainly talking about Christians. But Muslims and Jews and others you can add. I mean, think about it. They believe so much that their God's going to help them win a war or whatever. A disease, a job, or whatever. It never happens. They may win and attribute it to their God when it wasn't their God. They may get healed and attribute it to their God instead of the doctors who actually went through medical school, 4 years of undergraduate work, which I can attest is not easy because I've done it myself. I took molecular biology, biochemistry, genetics, developmental biology, embryology, anatomy, physiology, micro, general chem, organic, calculus-based physics, Calc 1, 2, 3 differential equations. I've taken all that stuff. Trust me, that's just those 4 years. And they don't usually take differential on Calc 3, but 4 years of undergraduate, and then 4 years of medical school. First you gotta pass that MCAT, which is hard as hell. I can tell you that. I got average scores, and average does not get you into med school. 4 years of med school. And then you got your residency. And after your residency, fellowship. And yet, these Christians have the audacity to say, let Jesus guide your doctor's hand. Let guide my surgeon's hand while he heals me. Like, what the hell? This is your doctor doing it. You can pray and hope that God's going to cure you. That you go to a doctor, gives you an x-ray and says, well, you got lumps in your lungs, it's not cancerous yet, but we need to watch it, come every year, we can check it out, and say, oh, God is going to take care of me, I'm not coming back. And then you get lung cancer. Sorry, but graveyards are full of people that thought their God was going to help them. It's just the same thing. The graveyards are full of people who thought they were right. Graveyards are full of people that thought that their God was going to cure them and help them. That preacher sure did. He died. Luckily for him, his God actually existed, because it's a story. But in real life, there's absolutely no evidence that God exists. It's just like, alien life. There's absolutely no evidence that there's any form of life out there on other planets. However, here's the difference. I'm sorry to get in a little tangent. Here's the difference, though. We can observe other stars, their brightness, relative brightness, their age, their size, their density, and all that, how much light they're putting out, and all this stuff. We can measure that stuff. We can detect their planets and how close or how far they are from their star. how fast they're circling and all this stuff. We can see that from here. We can postulate based on how Earth works. What we see on this planet here, you have bacteria that can withstand some pretty high temperatures and pretty low temperatures. So you get a pretty rough estimate where the planet should be in relative to a star. So you can look at these planets and we know that there are dozens of planets that are in the right position. You can postulate. Now it's not a theory, because you need to look at what a theory is if you think a theory is a guess. You can postulate whether or not there could be life on that planet. There's more evidence that life could exist. Not does exist, but could exist, than there is evidence that God could exist. There is absolutely no evidence that a God could exist, let alone does exist. And then you got to prove that's your God, which good luck on that one too. Well, that's it for this video. Bye.